My daughter had been trying to warn me for weeks. I really should have listened to her. "Daddy, I think there's a monster in the attic." I gave my daughter a tired smile. It was the best that I could do at this point. She'd been doing this for weeks now. Every night, I'd come and tuck her in, switch the night light on, and kiss her goodnight when she would pull the blanket tight under her chin and tell me about the monster living in the attic of our house. Eyes wide, lips quivering, she would shake her little head furiously and insist that she could not possibly go to sleep until I got up and checked. It wouldn't matter how much I tell her that it's all just in her head and that monsters aren't real. If I don't check the attic, she'd wake up screaming and crying just past midnight. Every single time, it's not like her fears were completely baseless, as we all had been hearing odd skittering noises coming from up there at night. Probably rats. No monster is that light-footed. "Please, Daddy, could you go and check?" she whispered, afraid that the thing upstairs would eavesdrop and get mad at her request. "Okay," I replied. There was no harm in indulging this little quirk of hers for at least a little longer. After all, the day when she would stop asking me to check for monsters and slam the door shut in my face wasn't all that far away. I just wished it wasn't the attic though. Why can't the damn thing live in her closet like a normal monster? Like a bored robot carrying out its daily task, I trudged out of her room, yawning as I reached the attic door, before sliding the ladder down and climbing up, one rickety rung at a time. I popped my head into the cramped space, slipped my phone out of my pocket, and turned on its flashlight. Motes of dust shivered in the pale glow cast by the phone which illuminated the attic. Cardboard boxes covered in tattered rags, my wife's old easel, and some broken furniture filled up the tiny attic, but no monsters. "All right, honey," I said after coming back down to my daughter's room. "I've checked. No monsters again tonight. Maybe we'll find them tomorrow." She grinned, relieved. "Thank you, Daddy. Good night, love." "Good night." Groaning and rubbing the crick in my neck, I entered our bedroom and plopped down on the bed belly first, mushing my face into the pillow. "Is Daddy back from fighting monsters?" my wife asked, slight mirth dancing in her tired voice. I grunted. "Yep, kicked its little ass and sent it scurrying back to hell." She chuckled and then turned over to the other side, her back facing me. I shut my eyes and got ready to go to sleep when I was rudely interrupted by the critters in the attic skittering around like kids hopped up on candy. Fucking bastards with their little red paws slapping against the wooden flooring of the attic. "Babe, you really need to get rid of those rats." I nodded, then realized she couldn't see me. "Yeah, tomorrow. You've been saying that for a while now. They are really starting to irritate me." Yeah. I'll get it done. Tomorrow." She sighed and shrugged her shoulders. Soon her breathing slowed down as she fell asleep. I wanted to follow her into the dream world, but my stiff neck wouldn't allow me to do so. I tossed and turned before finally realizing I would have to lie on my back if I were to have any shot at catching some sleep, and I hated doing that. I hadn't slept on my back in ages, but the ache in my neck forced me, and then that damn skittering again. Fuck. I rubbed my forehead, wiggled my shoulders and opened my eyes, and saw what had been making that noise for all those weeks. Up on the ceiling, I spotted a figure, white but hidden by the dark. I froze. What the fuck? It shifted, and there was that sound again, like claws scratching wood. My heart beat faster and my body erupted in sweat. What the fuck? What the fuck? Hands trembling, I reached for my phone and gently swung it around, shining the light on the figure on the ceiling. The light fell upon a face, old, wrinkled, framed by matted locks of white hair that flowed down like the aerial roots of an ancient tree. It was an old woman, dressed in white, leering down at me, her fingers digging onto the wood of the ceiling. I gasped, and the grinning woman turned and crawled out of the room, moving across the ceiling like a fucked up spider woman before disappearing into the hallway outside. I jumped out of the bed and ran out into the hallway, letting my eyes scan each and every inch of all the walls outside. But there was no one there. It was like she had disappeared. I would have almost believed that I had dreamt it all up if I hadn't noticed the long claw marks on the ceiling and felt my stomach drop. And that's when I finally understood that for all those weeks that we had been hearing those sounds, it wasn't some rat skittering around. It was that woman looking down on our sleeping bodies, watching, grinning. A while back, 2 years or so, I visited my girlfriend's school in the rural parts of the country. I'm from the Philippines. The school wasn't haunted or anything, but then again, most schools in the country are actually haunted. Most schools are either converted military bases, hospitals, or sometimes graveyards, so you'd figure out why most are haunted. However, her school wasn't. Rather, it was made a bit earlier, around 10 or 15 years ago. While visiting the school for her graduation ceremonies, I decided to roam around the school for several hours while waiting for the ceremony to start, and to my surprise, the school didn't have a back wall, rather a wall of trees, mangroves. A wall of mangroves since it was beside a marsh area. I found it weird to say the least, but I don't judge, so I decided to go into the trees, where I saw 4 men with saws cutting down trees. Nothing wrong with that. The higher ups wanted to expand the school, as stated by one of the men. They were cracking jokes, singing a bit, normal stuff, till they finished their cutting for the day. Now after the event with my girlfriend, we decided to go around the school talking, some romance shit. Now while walking by the now cut trees, my girlfriend whispered to me, out of nowhere, "Let's go home. I'm not coming to school tomorrow. They displeased the protectors of the mangroves." Knowing my girlfriend has been taught white and black magic by her grandparents, I just agreed. By the next day, the 3 workers died, vomiting black tar-like substances. The 4th disappeared. Then by the following weeks, there were possessions of students calling out people who cut their trees. Prayers and exorcism came in soon after, and they started exorcising whatever did those things. After all that, we had 3 dead workers, 1 missing, 4 more students that fell in a coma, and one of them died just recently because of complications. The weekend after my first paranormal experience at work, I told my co-workers what had happened to me. I expected them to make fun of me or think I was making it up. They believed me, and they went into more detail about their experiences in their home. The worst of what happened to anyone in that house always went back to the man in the closet. The closet in question was in the room of our client, Josie. Outside of her bedroom was the entrance to the attic. Going past it always made me feel nervous, a feeling that was shared by other staff. Once you stepped into Josie's room, the feeling only grew. Every time I went in there, I just got this sinking feeling, and I never stayed longer than I needed to. This is what felt to me like the center of the activity in the house. Josie's closet door would open at night. No matter how securely you shut it, you would return to the room to find it wide open. To remedy this, we would lock her wheelchair, pushing it against the closet door. It would have been easy to just write it off, but Josie talked often about the man who lived inside. One weekend, we all decided to humor her and ask her about the closet man. She said his name was Mitch. We asked her what Mitch did, and she told us that he talked to her. When we asked what about, she just got a small smile and wouldn't say much else. She never seemed scared, but that changed at night. There were some night shifts where Josie would start screaming for help. When staff ran down to check on her, she said the man in her closet said he wanted to kill her. We tried to tell her it was okay and that she would be okay, but she was inconsolable. This resulted in her wanting to come out to the living room and not go back to sleep. We started using Mitch as our go-to explanation for strange things happening in the house. Kitchen door slammed shut randomly. Mitch. Shower caddy not where you left it. Mitch. Footsteps, whispers, or knocking at the walls. Mitch. It made staff feel a little more at ease. We never discussed anything scary happening in the house in front of the girls. If we talked about something paranormal, we either did it once the girls were in bed or out of earshot. In late 2018, I was the weekday night aide. Our company cut out having two of us, so I was responsible for getting everyone up in the morning by myself. One of the most nerve-wracking things happened to me when I was helping one of the girls get ready for the day. The lady I was helping was Annie. She is a total sweetheart who has the mental age of a 3-year-old. She was non-verbal for the most part, but could say simple things like "Mama." She could also do something if you simply explained to her what you needed, but she had difficulty understanding. We had her closet door open when this happened. I was sitting at her feet, helping her put her shoes on. Her shower caddy came out of the closet, crashing to the floor. She always tucked it in place, so it wasn't on the edge or in a position to fall over. She started yelling, in her own way of communicating. It sounded like an odd mix of a laugh and a yell, which was Annie's way of saying she was not happy. I calmed her down, then said, more to myself, "You need to tell Mitch to chill out." She turned her head and started yelling at her closet, which gave me chills. I didn't keep the closet doors open during the girls' morning routines after that. If this comes across written as fiction, I apologize. Names have been changed to protect those involved, especially the company I used to work for. If you don't believe me, that's okay too. I also apologize if I ramble in this post or unintentionally put unnecessary info. I'm running on no sleep. So I've mentioned in my first post that my dad hunts. Well, this story happened during one of my many hunting experiences, which I never take part in and only heard about it. Experience number 1. Backstory: he used to hunt with a hunting rifle but has now started alternating between crossbow and a bow, cause it's quieter and easier to hunt than with a hunting rifle. My dad, like I mentioned, was out hunting and I'm assuming had fallen asleep in his car while waiting for a buck to appear. He looks out the window and sees this prize-winning buck, his words not mine, a couple feet away from him. Excited, he raises his gun all set fire at it because our other uncles have already gotten their prize buck, expecting him, and he wanted to get one himself. But when he looks through the scope, there's nothing there. He lowers the gun, and there's the buck in plain sight. He raises the gun again to fire. Zip, nothing. Open space. Lowers the gun again. The buck is still there, but looking away from my dad. Very confused, raises gun up again. Gone again. My dad is thinking, what's going on? Lowers gun this time. The buck is really gone. He was so confused, and by then my uncles have returned to the car and they head home for the night. Nobody was able to figure it out if the buck was real, a figment of my dad's imagination, or a forest spirit playing a prank on him. Experience number 2. My dad was out hunting again with one other uncle at this newer area about 3 to 4 years ago. Instead of at the area in experience number 1, expect it was almost winter when this strange and creepy encounter happened. My dad was already high up in this tree stand for hours and just waiting for a buck to appear. It does, but it's too far out of range that he wouldn't be able to get a clear shot when he noticed a woman in a white dress walking around a few feet below him. He was confused why she was walking around in a dress in that condition and wanted to call out to her, but something in the back of his mind told him not to. So he just silently sit in his tree stand and waited. Eventually, she walked away and out of sight in the direction of where our uncle was located. My dad continues waiting for maybe another half an hour before climbing down and calling our uncle about the woman in the white dress. Our uncle, what woman? Dad, the woman that walked in your direction half an hour ago. Uncle, I never saw anyone, and there shouldn't be anyone else but us out here. They were both confused, but it was enough to scare our uncle into wanting to get the heck out of there. My dad didn't want to leave and instead wanted to stay a bit longer. After some convincing, our uncle talks my dad into leaving, where my dad proceeds to mock and tease him about the woman in the white dress. They both made it home perfectly fine, but our uncle is too scared to go hunting there by himself now after what had happened. Then a few days afterwards, my dad's leg just starts hurting and swelling up for a couple weeks. Our other uncle, who's a shaman, not a hunter, thinks maybe they offended or disturbed something while out hunting. My dad denies it, but was told to go back to the area during the day and apologize to whatever they might have disturbed. My dad, being a stubborn guy, refused to, but after a while, he and our uncle, the one who went hunting with him, went back and apologized. A few days later, his leg was all better, as though nothing ever happened. Creepy, and that's why I never want to go out hunting or in the woods at night, because anything can happen, and I hate being outside after dark.